Hey guys, and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be going over another SPAC stock with you, and that's going to be Blade. This company's been getting a lot of attention recently, and that's for one main reason, and that fact is that Cathie Wood invested in this company just a couple of days ago. People seem to really like the companies that she invests in, probably because she had a triple-digit return last year, so instantly when she invests in a company, it starts taking off. This is very obvious. If you look at the 1 month chart, you can see that it was hanging out just around $11, and then all of a sudden it gets a huge spike. I believe she bought on January 8th. I could be wrong on that, but I know she bought after hours on either January 8th or January 11th, and it started flying. It was up around 40% on just that one day. A lot of the people who were buying into this company probably didn't even know what they were buying into. They were just buying it because Cathie Wood did. And so that's my job today, is to teach you a little bit about what this company does and some of the things that Cathie might have seen that caused her to invest in the company. One of the things that every great company has in common is the fact that it was built in order to solve a problem. And the problem that Blade is going to be solving is with traffic. Each year, people spend almost 50% of their drive time stuck in traffic, and their commute is increased by also around 50%. This is bad in the United States, but outside of the United States, it's even worse, where in Mumbai, a citizen would spend around 250 hours sitting in traffic each year, which increases their commute time by 95%. That's almost doubling it. Then you go to Tokyo and they spend 150 hours in traffic each year, with around a 65% increase in their commute time. I don't think anyone enjoys spending their time in traffic, and so Blade is out here to change that. Blade has three main ways that they use their helicopters, but today we're going to be focusing on the short distance flight and the Blade airport business. These are two different ways that Blade commercially flies its passengers from one destination to another. Now, how exactly does Blade do this? They do this by sort of being that connector between the customer and the helicopter operator, to where they don't actually own any of these helicopters, and instead they just provide the technology in order to connect these two parties and schedule and make this flight go through for the customer. Some of the benefits to this is a higher profit margin, as well as a lower startup cost, because they don't need to build any hangars, they don't need to train any pilots, and they don't need any mechanics to work on these aircrafts because they aren't actually theirs. They also lease out terminal spaces, so they don't need to build any sort of airports. Another one of the big advantages is, if for whatever reason, due to weather or other problems, they don't end up flying, Blade pays nothing because they didn't actually own the helicopter. They were just renting it if they were actually to fly, so they don't have to take on the losses from that experience. By this point in the video, you're probably thinking that this sounds very similar to an app that a lot of us know and love, and that's Uber. Blade itself has a very similar app in which a customer would go in, select a destination and time that they'd like to fly. This would then go through Blade's technology and operating system until it's eventually connected to a pilot of the helicopter. They can then accept or decline the flight, and it's all built into, once again, a very similar app. And even this little phone holder reminds me a lot of an Uber driver. The way that they choose their pilots is also very similar to Uber. They have very strict safety protocols in which these pilots must have tons of experience and no bad history. They also must have a new interior in their helicopter because this is supposed to be a luxury brand. And we'll get into that more in just a minute. But Blade's goal is to appeal themselves to that higher class audience. Another one of the things that Blade is currently doing is building lounges all across the United States, as well as they also have one in India. And what this does is allow their customers to feel security as well as safety while they're waiting for their flight, and eventually it will lead to revenue from brand sponsorships. Some of their current brand partners include Voss, Maserati, Porsche, Jack Spade, and there's one thing in common with all of these, and that they're built to apply to the higher class citizens. This is somewhat of a bougie company because they know that their service appeals to people that have the money to spend in order to skip the line and beat the traffic, and so a lot of their partners are also with more bougie companies. One of the things that this will allow them to do that they're not currently doing a lot of is generate a ton of ad revenue. Because of the fact that they're appealing to a higher class audience, ads are going to cost a lot more for any of their partners that want to advertise in those lounges that I was just showing to you. Once again, they're not doing a lot of this right now, but that's largely due to the fact that they don't have a lot of lounges. They're struggling to expand, and that's where the SPAC merger comes in. This company is being valued at, I believe, right around $900 million. So that's going to be a lot of revenue coming in for the company in order to rent more helicopters, build more lounges, and gain new customers. This company is already being recognized by many different media outlets in the United States, including CNN, Bloomberg, Fox News, CNBC, the New York Post. The list goes on and on, but my favorite graphic comes from this CNBC that was shown live on television. You can see that when compared to Uber, Blade can get you to the Hamptons roughly 4 times as fast. Although it is a higher cost, once again, Blade is built to appeal to that high-class audience, and so the price does not matter as much as the fact that Blade can save them time. For them, time is money, and so the quicker they can get to their destination, the better. Another thing is that in general, companies, as they get older, tend to be able to improve their profit margins, and so that $5.95 a seat will likely decrease as the company is able to increase those margins. There's been a ton of good signs of growth for this company. From 2014 to 2019, they've been growing passengers around 61% year over year, from just about 1,000 in 2014 up to around 37,000 in 2019. The same thing goes for revenue, going from around 25 million in 2020 to almost 1 billion in 2026. Keeping in mind that in 2020, they did have the COVID shutdowns, which seriously hurt their revenue for this year. One thing that this company didn't do, although they were seriously hurt by these shutdowns, was give up on this year. They still continued to try to expand by implementing extreme safety measures that were noticed by many different news outlets once again. These safety measures were far higher than the majority of airlines. They even did things like check oxygen levels and have an electrostatic decontamination of every aircraft in between their flights. I like this because it shows that the company is willing to fight through the adversity that they'll inevitably face in the early stages, but they were still able to obtain growth last year, even through these difficult circumstances. Once again, when you're comparing ground to air, this company is nothing like Tesla or Nikola or any of those. It's far more comparable to something like Uber or Lyft. And so we're talking about around a $250 billion industry on the ground, and the air is just getting started. This company is ready for takeoff, pun intended, and it has a huge growth ahead of it. I hope you went on to enjoy today's video, and if you did, make sure you leave a like down below and subscribe. Make sure you check if you're subscribed because only around 11% of you guys are. So if you like these videos and don't want to miss any more of them, then hit that subscribe button. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one.